Snaring, the first item in the food episode. You're watching Modern Survival, part 1 of a 5-part series. Part 1 is gonna be for food collection. I'm no expert in survival. I'm just an average Joe who lives in a mobile home, and I'm looking up stuff and I'm going off personal experience from my hunting and fishing and things that I think would be practical for survival. Can't help but think that the #1 option has to be a snare. Sorry, I shouldn't do that. It's gonna get taken off YouTube. Anyways, a snare is basically something that people used in the old days and even in present days with trapping licenses to collect fur and harvest animals. What you do is you set it along a game trail, and the idea is that when an animal runs across through their trail, they don't see the snare. Their head goes through it, it cinches down, and essentially chokes them out and kills them. Now, I know it sounds kind of brutal, but in a survival situation, what are you gonna do? You gotta get food. So the nice thing about snares is they basically set themselves, and so once you install them on the trail, you just have to walk by and check them, and eventually you'll have a dead animal in the hard work's done. You know, you've got a dead animal in the trap and then you eat it. I think that's pretty important when you're trying to survive. And you can make hundreds of these and set them on hundreds of trails to increase your success rate. Even if you've only got a 20% success rate and you got 100 snares out, you're gonna catch 20 animals and you're gonna be eating good like me. We're gonna try and demonstrate the snare. The other cool thing is you can make your own out of wire. I'm gonna try to show you that later after you follow us along. So as we're walking through my field here, we've noticed this trail, and it's a pretty nice trail. It goes in here. I actually did snare a raccoon out of here and we ate it. That's in an old video I made. But I did snare a raccoon right out of this trail with a snare exactly like this. So basically what you'd want to do is ideally you want like a 2 or 3 inch size tree, and you want to secure this to that tree, right head height for the animal. Let me just see if I can kind of set this up. We're going to try to take this, put it around the tree. There's other ways to anchor these down with wire and stuff. That's probably the more proper way. But I'm just going to do this quick little, basically snare it to the tree itself. And then with an animal of this size, you would want to barely hang it on that branch, just like that. This is a very ugly snare. Any trapper is going to be like, that looks like crap. But if you're surviving, you've got nothing but time. I'm not surviving right now. This piece on the highest side of this snare, ready to drop down for when that animal comes through. That is an ugly snare. You want this more up. You want the circle nice and symmetrical. When the animal comes through, pops it off. Bad example. And animal comes through and then freaks out because he's a wild, and then you got yourself a meal. And like I said, I did catch a raccoon off this same trail with this snare. Let me show you the best place to set these things in the reality of an urban world. Come along. Alright guys, we've all seen what I'm standing on before. This is a culvert. I hope the wind sound isn't too loud. Culverts are a place that raccoons, skunks, all kinds of little ugly critters, possums, they love using these as trails to get through. And the awesome part is there's culverts all up and down my road. I've heard of the culvert trappers, and they'll like set traps on culverts and they just catch a ton of stuff. So if you're surviving, I would say this is probably one of your first go-to places to catch yourself a meal, because you could literally just walk down your local road and probably set 50 snares. So you want to set it kind of as we said. You may not have a tree, so you can use like a rebar stake or something you know, metal stake of some sort, set it, and they call it blocking. Sometimes you want to kind of like put brush up and kind of hide that thing on both sides, and it kind of basically forces the animal to go through the area. And so you've got your little skunk or whatever, and he tries to go running through. You may not catch him right on the neck, but you'll catch him. And this is a snare for bigger animals. It's got a choker stop on it, but your normal snare isn't gonna have that, and it'll get them, and it'll at least either kill them or hold them until you can dispatch the animal. And I'll tell you what, if you're starving, skunks, raccoons, possums, you're gonna be able to catch way more of those than you're gonna have luck going after like a deer or an elk or something like that. All right, you guys can see I set up a little snare here. It's kind of hard because the goat's head usually rides about right here, but I'm gonna be using bait to try to get him to come through here. And we're just gonna try to see if we can get him to go through, and if it would work. I'm not gonna hurt Cujo, he's my pet, but I would eat him if I had to. Is it going? Mm-hmm. Walk a little farther, buddy. Boom! Got yourself a goat. Check that out. Now, if this was a wild animal, calm down, buddy, calm down. If this was a wild animal, I'm gonna take it off because I don't want to hurt him. He's already getting weird about it. If that was a wild animal, they would freak, would choke him out. You'd have yourself a lot of meat. I mean, yeah, he's not a very big goat, but you could, in theory, this is not legal, but if you're surviving, then who cares, right? So, anyways, you can see how effective a snare would be. I would have just had myself a goat dinner if I was in a survival situation. I'm so glad that worked. I didn't know if it was gonna work, but it worked like first time, first set. And as you can see how you kind of block, I use this log to trap him in as a funnel. So that's kind of how you do it. That's the snare. Let me real quick show you guys how you can make your own if you find yourself surviving and you don't have a pre-bought snare. So if you just walk down any road, mind you, this is, don't just go cutting people's fences, but if you're in a situation where it's life or death, go walk around. There's gonna be fencing left, and find yourself the size wire you need. Obviously, if you're going after moose, you're gonna need a thick wire. If you're going after rabbits, go the thinnest as possible. And we're just gonna find some. Straight up, just loose wire. Now we're gonna take, and don't get me wrong, I've done this before once too when I was a child. I snared a fox with a rope. He actually chewed through it and got away, but it didn't work. I had it on trail camera. And you wanna wrap it around, probably way more than what I'm doing, but this is more of an example for you. Oh, you want me down here? But you know, you don't want to kink the metal. You want to keep it fairly rounded. And you're gonna have less of a success rate on wire than you will that cable, because it's just not as good. And so you can make yourself a snare out of something like this, and it does work, but as you can see, it just doesn't work nearly as well. But you got to think, when those animals do get caught, they're wild, they're fighting for their life, and they're gonna freak out, you know. And as they freak out, it will tighten up and it'll get them. I would recommend, if you're gonna build your own, go with the smallest wire you can find, even smaller than this, because it's gonna be more sensitive, and just go after small game, because it's gonna be way easier than trying to get something big. But there you go. Hi guys, lesson number 2 on the food collection episode is gonna be fishing. And see if we can make our own fishing equipment with stuff found on the property. The idea is find some rope, the smaller the better. Some sewing thread would be great. And we're gonna make fishing line out of it by taking the small strands and tying them together. We're gonna need a lot more, but this is the start. So we're just kind of tying these together with little loops. This is not pretty, but survival's not pretty. All right, I think we've got ourselves enough rope. Now we gotta find a bobber and something to use for a hook, and then we'll try to catch a fish. All right, for a hook, we're gonna try to make this little finish nail work. I hope you guys can find a real hook, but I'm gonna try to make this as authentic survival as possible. I honestly am questioning if I'm even gonna be able to catch a fish on this. And for a bobber, I'm just gonna use a water bottle with a little bit of water in there. So first, let's see if we can bend this thing, and then I'm gonna file it down. Gotta try to make a small hook because we're going after pretty small fish. It's not bad, actually. It looks like a hook, it's just not very sharp. So I'm going to sharpen this up with a file. We want to make a real sharp point, something that's gonna hook them. So I've sanded this, I've filed this down to a pretty sharp little point. Let's tie this on to the end of our fishing line. All right, little tag end on there. It's holding up quite nicely. So let me see if I can get a better shot for you. Now just a little ways up, we're gonna throw on our bobber, which I need to put some water in. Let me go do that. Wrap the rope along the bottom of the rim here. Tighten that cap on, and that's hopefully going to keep it secured. Let's find some bait. A good place to look for bait is just underneath like logs and rocks. We're looking for an earthworm. Grasshoppers will work good too, other little bugs. There we go, first try. So we got ourselves a earthworm. Great bait, by the way. We're gonna stick that on our homemade rig and see if we can catch a fish. Stabbed him pretty easily. I'm excited to try this. You know, and if you're actually trying to do this for food, it's probably gonna take a lot of effort and time, but I figured these are the easiest things I can think of that would practically, possibly keep you alive. Perfect. All right, here we go. We got our setup. Kind of worked. That was a better cast.
I don't want after over here.
We're just not seeing any fish yet. I haven't really let it sit for very long. But you know, if there's no fish around when the visibility's good, then it's not worth it. So far, nothing, not even a look at it. I don't know if it's because of the red line or if it's just because they're smarter than that. Or possibly because I'm just not casting it far enough and... Oh no, I lost the line. We need a stick. All right, for now, we're gonna hold off. We're gonna wait, try and wait till there's more fish later. And I may even decide to kind of half-ass it and go with a real hook or fishing line just to get something out of the deal. Ow. Oh, my hook works. I just stabbed the hook right into my hand. Oh, nice.
I'm not the girl. You still in there. You might want to go in there.
Yeah. Oh, that was a hit. That was a hit.
After losing my chance at this bluegill, I was ready to give up and use some good gear.
Well, I guess that's a good thing. We did have a bite. I don't know if that just means my hook sucks or they got scared, but... Alright guys, so I was not having much luck with the... I did get the one bite, but I wasn't having much luck with the homemade rope. So I switched over to a reel hook, reel line, just the bottle, and I got a spool of line.
We fished for about another 15 minutes. Didn't have any other hits, but then I was walking around the pond and I saw a group of about 5 to 6 bluegill, from some big sized ones to some small ones. I decided we were gonna go after those, and that's when this fast track of the video slows down again.
Feel good, guys. This is it. This is it. This is it. Come on. Oh, here we go. Oh, son of a dick. I missed it. Got one. I got one. I got one. Woo! That is not much of a fish. That's a lot of work for that right there. I didn't even catch him in the mouth. That there's a little baby bluegill. Well, we're gonna eat this guy. Whoa. All right, you know what? I know I should try to get a bigger fish, but I'm gonna be happy with what I just did because I've been out here for a long time, and catching a bluegill on nothing but a hand line, a water bottle, and a hook, that's awesome. And I do, in a later time, I'm gonna have to try to catch one on the baling twine. Let me know if you guys want to see that. I know I could do it after seeing what I just saw, but this I don't know if I'm gonna eat him on this episode or on the fire episode, but stay tuned to the Modern Survival series. See what happens. Final part, we're going to show you to buy or at least save some rat traps. There's multiple different styles. These are the easiest. These ones work really well. So do these. You can watch some of our previous videos where I've trapped a bunch of rats. But let's face it, in a survival situation, there's rats everywhere. They do contain protein, and they're very easy to catch compared to most other critters. So we're going to use some peanut butter and some bird seed. I just wanted to show you another thing you can do is use a rat trap to catch a wild bird. It's not legal, so I'm not going to actually do it. But you can do that, and I guarantee you within a couple days you'll catch a songbird. It's not a lot of food, but you know, you never know. You might get lucky and get something bigger. But yeah, I do recommend tying it down with a rope if you've only got a few traps, because sometimes you'll get something bigger that'll run off with them. But anyways, you can put birdseed on there and catch wild birds on these as well. Keep your hand out of the way.
When you walk,
That's a good way to catch one of those. And then, if you're really hungry, you can eat it. If you want to catch birds, obviously bird seed. And you know, if you're desperate, you can try to find things like grains in the cupboard, grass seed, wheat seed, you know, corn seeds, and you can dry them out and make your own baits. You know, when you're surviving, I guess you just got to kind of think on your own, think on your feet. But anything like a peanut butter, nuts, great bait for rodents. So anyways, we got Abel's peanut butter here. We're gonna squeeze that on there. We're gonna flip that back. Be very careful, you don't want to snap your fingers off. Snap! I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Here it is, Joe.
Yeah. Alright.
Alright guys, so this is real. So I noticed it right over here. If something comes all the way over here and it will jump right on it, and then
we got ourselves a rat. Yeah. Alright, so got those rat traps set. We'll check them in the morning, see if we got anything. But as gnarly as it sounds, a rat might be a realistic option in a survival situation. Day 2, checking the rat traps. Let's see if we got anything. We got a rainy day on us right now. That one's set off. Got a trap set off there. Let's see if we got anything else. Listen to how loud the rain is hitting those white buildings.
no.
This trap didn't get touched.
Mine's still set.
This one's still set with no bait. These ones are missing. Oh no, they're over here. Nothing. It's set off.
But there's no bait.
And this one's still set. Well, it doesn't look like we're going to trap any rats in this episode. In the fall, I have really good luck, and obviously if you're trying to survive, I'd be moving them around. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like I'm gonna get one. Don't forget in the springtime to check out morels. In the fall, you got berries. Watch out, bud. Abel just found a morel. Let's go ahead and pick that, bud. What do you do with those?
Take them.
Yeah, you can eat these. They're almost steak-like, very delicious. You can check out if you're interested in morels. I've got videos in my channel of us just going on morel hunts and getting like pounds of them. That's gonna wrap it up for the first part of my 5-part survival series. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit that like, subscribe button. We need you so we can keep this train going. Stay dry out there.